together, looking for God and trying to find the signposts along the way that would help us discover what a relationship with God looks like. So this has been enjoyable and very informative for me.
Thank you, John. And my name is Chitin. Yes, it is 10-year long relationship, and it's more or less John being my mentor, my uncle, and a very close friend. Today, we are talking about God and religion as an indivisible subject, whether it is possible or not. And I invite John's view on this subject as a first chapter of this entire book we are writing together called Looking for God.
Well, you posed a good question via email a couple of days ago that I thought would be a good one to talk about. And your question was, can God be separated from religion? Which is an intriguing question. And I thought before I gave any answer, I wanted to find out why that was an important question to you, Jitendra.
I think answering a universal truth in the theory of non-contradiction that we also discussed. And I have seen in almost all the religions that they contradict each other into their statements, but parallelly, they all agree about their own versions of God. So, and that's why I want to figure out that is it possible that even if a religion continue to agree or disagree upon their concepts of God, is there any God which is away from how all the people of different religions understand it?
Well, that's commendable, and there's tremendous value in doing that. And as I thought about the question, my answer is going to be yes and no.
Mhm.
I think it's really helpful to think about separating God from religion to get God out of every religious system, because no religious system can completely understand God. It's based on their perception, their history, their culture, their holy book. And so it's always going to be their perspective on a particular religious system.
Mhm.
And if I were to separate God from religion, and this is just my way of thinking, for me, there's at least three or four characteristics of God that I think are important. One is that he has to be transcendent. He needs to be beyond the created world so that he isn't captive to time, captive to cultures. So he needs to be beyond any religious system. He needs to be infinite, infinite in wisdom, infinite in power, way beyond anything that I could imagine. The third characteristic for me is relational. God, I hope, is a relational God that we can have a relationship with him. So those are really three of the characteristics that I think are good to separate God out from religion. And I'll end there. So that's the yes part of my answer. My second answer was no. Sometimes it isn't helpful to separate God from religion. But then behind that, I would ask a different question. And the different question is, if we look at Islam, Hinduism, Christianity, Buddhism, several other religious viewpoints, which one of them gives us the best accounting of reality? So when I experience reality, I experience evil. When I experience reality, I experience relationships. When I experience reality, there are a whole host of things that I go through in life. So if I were to look at all those different religions, for me, which one gives the best accounting for the relational nature of how we're created? And as I looked at the different ones, for me, Trinitarian monotheism, the basis for the Christian faith. And by the way, Jesus never intended to start a religion. He intended to start a movement. And the
Mhm.
movement was a completely alternative view of the nature of who God was. So as I look at those different perspectives on relationship, transcendence, uh, infinity, from my study, I feel like the Christian faith gives me the best accounting for reality. So then you have to take every other religious system, Hinduism, Buddhism, and run it through that grid and say which one gives the best answers that fit logic, that fit revelation, that fit science, history. Which one stacks up as giving, I think, the best answer? And so for me, I've landed on the Christian faith.
So I grew up in a community which was pre-assumed Hindu, and my father, my parents, and most of the people in my community practice Buddhism, and people in my locality, where mostly of them were Islam and Muslims. And India is a country wherein there is a constant hugging and debate between people of different sect and belief. And those debates were never violent when I was growing up, but nowadays things are turning violent with them. And the process of those arguments, every time I had involved into an argument with people of different faith, I got to conclude within me that, okay, if there is a God, he has nothing to do with religion.
So your statement was if there is a God, then he has nothing to do with religion, right?
Yeah.
So then you would reject the God of Christianity, the God of Islam, the God of Hinduism. What would you then say your position? Would that make you an atheist or agnostic? Where would you land?
I can tell my stand that I don't believe in any religion, but I do want to believe on God. And because I think that world and universe cannot be observed just by the five senses human are having, there must be thousands and thousands more senses. Universe cannot be just three-dimensional as it is visible to us. There can be more than three dimensions. That's my balanced stand. I don't know is my stand. I don't know God. I want to look for Him, and I don't know about religion. But prima facie, none of them look for me as just and ethical and lovable to all, and that's where I kind of feel defected from all the religion.
Okay, well, let me explore that. You said I don't know, but you also said that you do believe in God, but that God is not a part of any of those religions. So,
Mhm.
describe for me the God that you do believe in.
Yeah, so actually, I said I want to believe because there are things beyond human capacities. I say that my conversation with you has an objective that someday, probably with your help or with the help of this argument, I will be able to see clearly who is God, and if at all there is one, what is his objective in creating so many things. So I'm kind of may sound rude to the power, but being rude to the power is what I think is the purpose of life.
So, you said you want to believe in God and that you're looking for God. How will you know when you found him?
Oh, well, interesting question. I think these whys must be answered, and I should be told the purpose of being so many humans on Earth and why they're limited on Earth, why there are other form of lives on Earth, why there is so much contradictions to almost everything that exists and have been existing so far. Like I'm trying to sound more scientifically logical, but I'm not scientifically logical even when I'm trying to look for God. And I think logic are the limited frame of work of humans whenever we are trying to solve complex answers. So yeah, so it's not logical framework. I want proof of evidence of God. It's not mythological or spiritual methods. I just want to keep on throwing questions all the directions and looking forward to answers. So maybe some of these questions, when they will be answered, I think that will be the manifestation of God for me.
hmm hmm Yeah. Well, I was thinking about it, going back to our title, Looking for God, that when we look for something, we look through a particular lens. So I'm in my office right now. I have my glasses on. Through my glasses, I can see the trees and the grass and the houses. It seems like in order to find God, you need to look through the right set of glasses that have the right lenses in them. And if your lenses haven't been corrected, then you don't see things clearly. So if you think about glasses, let's say you have 6 different lenses in your glasses. One can be history, one can be science, one can be logic. What are the lenses that you're looking through to try to find God? What would those be?
Well, thank you for this question, John. I think the lens I am looking forward to is the same thing that we discussed last time is the law of contradictions, and yeah, so law of non-contradiction. So is what if there is something existing, it should exist everywhere, and
Right.
there has to be some common minimum things all the religions agree upon, and those common minimum things are principally existing even in a places where human doesn't exist. So, and if that is coming to me, I think I will accept it as an argument towards my manifestation of God to me. Is that a lens? I think, am I able to define that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So then you do believe in the law of non-contradiction, is that correct?
Yes, I do believe.
So therefore, based on that law, atheism and theism can't both be true. Either
Yes.
one is true and the other is false, or they're both false.
Yep.
So on what basis would you reject atheism as not being true?
As not being true. So I think that's where I stand in the process of not rejecting it. So when I say that between atheism and theism, I see that atheism prima facie has unanimous acceptance as compared to theism, because theism has their own sectors, geographical and national borders, racial and color of skin borders. There are a lot of other borders when we talk about religion or theism. But when I talk about theism, it has no such boundaries. So there are people in Australia, in England, in Britain, in Middle East, in all across Africa and Asia. They all are. There are all kind of people of color, skin, race, gender, and other things. So they all have people who are believing upon atheism. Atheism is closer to the law of non-contradiction, in my view.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So do you think atheism is true?
Yeah, I just want to hold on answering it, because the very purpose of we talking is looking at each other's perspective. Because if I put a dead end to an argument, then probably there is no point of why of we discussing it. So I don't know whether atheism is truth or religion is truth. Or I think I will maintain my statement is that I don't know, and I'm proud of saying it, because accepting not knowing is the first step towards knowing what you want to know. Is that correct?
Mm, yeah. Jitendra, thank you again for a wonderful, stimulating discussion. It's 9 o'clock in the morning here. You've helped my brain to wake up, which is good. That usually takes 3 things: my Bible, talking to you, and spending time with the Lord. So I'm awake now.
Okay.
And this, again, good discussion. I really think we need to go back to the law of non-contradiction again. We're not finished with that, so this is to be continued. So thank you, my friend.
Yes, sir. And we will continue this question. I think waking up is one of the many purpose of we being a human. So we all are waking up together. So thank you very much for this wonderful discussion, John.